Greetings, internet. Yes, that is what you see there. That is a Grey Goose top because today I am going to roast myself. We're gonna have a fun time today. You, me, espresso martini that I'm gonna make in a second here. We're gonna take a walk down memory lane today, an alcohol-fueled walk. So kind of a slow walk, you know, like one of those walks where you're just like out to enjoy the air, not like you have to be somewhere. We're going on one of those walks today and we're gonna watch some of my old videos, my old Q&As from 10 years ago, and I'm going to answer the same questions that I answered 10 years ago today in 2022 and reflect on 2012 Katy, 2014 Katy, because let's just be real, the people we were 10 years ago, yes, we can say that maybe we haven't changed all that much, but when I watch myself, I'm like, wow, I have changed a lot. I've changed a lot. I feel like my whole face is different, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if anyone else feels that way or if you might completely disagree with me when you watch these videos, but I'm gonna make myself a little cocktail and we're gonna sip, we're gonna watch, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, we're gonna reflect. And honestly, this is just gonna be a good sit-down video. I miss doing sit-down videos. I feel like I do a lot of vlogs these days, but sometimes it's just nice to like put a little makeup on, sit in one place for like 30 minutes and talk. So that's what we're doing today. Strap in. 1, 2, 3 beans. Honestly, being an adult sucks a lot of the time, but then I realized that I can just sit in my apartment on a Saturday at 3 p.m. and make myself a martini. I'm gonna play some videos, I'm gonna pull them into the screen and show you guys, and if you knew me back then, you're gonna find this heartwarming. If you didn't, you'll now know why I am the way that I am. I started in 2009, someone do the math, so I have that much history of videos I've made and people that have found me in those years. All right, so let's take a little leap, hop, skip, and a jump back to 2014, ladies and gentlemen. Anonymous asks me, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Whew, okay, well, I'm only 18, so I have a lot more time to go before I find the best piece of advice. I'm not sure who said this to me, but it's definitely stuck in my brain for as long as I can remember, and it's don't give up on something or someone that you can't go a full day without thinking about. I put a lot of my decision-making weight on this quote, and if I can't go a full day without thinking about something or someone or, you know, something of that sort, I have to take action. I distinctly remember this quote being absolute gospel to me back when I was 18, 19. And honestly, I think living my life with this idea helped me out because I got rejected a lot because of it. But that being said, I didn't spend all of my days pining over something. I was given the answer that I needed to move on quicker or sooner rather than later. I remember one of my friends, one of my guy friends that used to be in a lot of my YouTube videos, I decided that I loved him and I actually wrote, this was in my like handwritten letters phase, which I want to get back into. I do love a handwritten note, but I wrote this handwritten cursive script, like Pride and Prejudice style letter. I folded it up, I put it in this envelope. I used these little rubber stamps that I'd been given as a gift, and I hand stamped his name on it. I gave it to a friend to deliver to him. I was so like convinced. I forgot for a hot second that my life wasn't a romantic comedy, especially one set in the Victorian era, but I delivered it to him, or I had it delivered, and he texted me a 2-sentence reply saying, sorry, I'm not into you. And honestly, I'm glad that I did it. I'm glad that I went for it. Granted, I think I came on this video and I said these things and I wasn't always like that. There were certainly times where I pined over things, even like wanting to join something, wanting to do something, and I was afraid to do it even after thinking about it every day. I was just, not gonna pull the trigger and do something that was unfamiliar and foreign. But I do think now, I really do act on things that I think about every day. Because, not to be cliche here, but life is too damn short. Too damn short. I think moving to New York was actually one of those sorts of pull trigger decisions where I was thinking about it every day. Like there's numerous videos, we might even come across one in this video, where I was like, I wanna live in New York, I wanna live in this loft apartment, and I thought about it every day, so I made it happen.
Anonymous asks me, what is the most daring / adventurous thing you've ever done? Wow. Okay, I like to think that I live a very adventurous life. Not really. I guess the biggest, most spontaneous thing I've done was, going to California and staying with a bunch of girls that I met off the internet, which, if you think about it, that's kind of crazy, right? So I guess one last little adventurous story that I have experienced was last year, around this time I want to say, I was at Chipotle with my friend Grace, and this is just I was in a very spontaneous mood. I don't know what was with me, but I was just feeling very out there, I wanted to just do something crazy. So we were sitting down and eating at Chipotle, which is burritos, not very attractive food, and there's this really cute group of boys, okay? I want to say there was 4 of them, and they were all from a private school, so they had their uniforms on. They're very cute. Very, very cute.
The chokehold that private school boys had on me, I think I considered them to be the Maryland, my town equivalent to Gossip Girl. So I don't know what my obsession was with private school guys. I think it's just, the grass is always greener because I went to public school. Anyway.
Very, very cute. And it was kind of that thing where we were kind of making slight eye contact, Grace and I, and then kind of looking in their direction, but not giving them the satisfaction of knowing we were looking in their direction. That's the mating call of teenagers, just giving the subtle glances, So the group of boys gets up and leaves, and as they're leaving, they're kind of looking back at us, and I can totally, give them the hair flip, whatever. And so they're leaving, and they're going to their car, and I don't know, it's just weird boy thing. They just sat in their car for ever, and Grace and I were kind of peeking out the window at them. We are super creepy, I will give it that. Me and Grace are the creepiest girls you will ever meet. We went to our car and we were going to leave, and Grace and I were we're not gonna let this cute group of boys go without, doing something spontaneous, right? So I think I had an old notebook, or it might have been, yeah, it was an old notebook. I don't even think it was mine in my backseat of my car. So I took the notebook from the backseat and wrote my phone number on it, and as we're driving away, Grace is leaning out the sunroof and just chucks the notebook at one of the boys. And it would have been really cool and classy if it didn't clock the guy in the side of the head. It might not sound very spontaneous or exciting on camera, but I promise when the boy called me later, it was totally worth it.
Many thoughts on this story, both stories. Number one, rewinding to where I said the most spontaneous thing I did was go to California and stay with a bunch of YouTubers. I don't know, having the internet friends that I had, it really bolstered my confidence. So I do attribute a lot of that, my growth from YouTube and from putting myself out there, literally getting on a plane and going to stay with girls I didn't know. And I actually have to remember who exactly, because I went a few times. I don't know if it was Sarah and Caitlin, Sarah Bell and Caitlin B. I don't remember. Anyway, the fact that now, if I were to answer this question, the most spontaneous thing I ever did was go on a cross-country road trip, RV trip. You guys know I did a whole series on YouTube about it, and ended up moving to LA because of it. So California was where I went and did very out of character, not really out of character, but just things that scared me and taught me so much. So California, though I don't need to live there anymore and I'm over that chapter, it's just not for me, I do owe a lot to California, I do. But into the second story of how I gave this guy, or my friend Grace and I gave these guys our numbers in the Chipotle parking lot. So romantic, but so teenage, And we did text a little. It didn't end up going anywhere at all. But what was I gonna say? Oh, Grace is actually getting married now. She's engaged. We're not very close anymore, but when we see each other, we obviously go down memory lane together. But it's funny, she was my best friend at the time. And not that we're not, there's no bad blood. I think that's the hard thing about friendships that fade. It's you feel you need to just be oh, we're still we're still acquaintances, I'm not a bitch, we're still, we just have differences now. We're literally in 2 different places, we're doing 2 different things, and though we still DM on Instagram all the time, it's just we're not besties anymore. And I think if you told 2014 Katie that she's no longer besties with this girl Grace, she would be so sad. But that's just life. I look through a lot of these old videos and I don't have the same friends. And for a while it was such a pit for me, not having the same friends, the longevity that I thought I'd have, these people being in my bridal party and these people meeting my kids and stuff like that. I really had this dream, and it just doesn't happen for everybody. And life and becoming an adult is about figuring out who fits best in your life at the time, at the given time. and you shouldn't feel it. You do feel this grief, but you shouldn't feel like you failed, okay? Like, yes, you can feel sad, you can mourn, you can think about those happy moments you had and reflect, but you shouldn't feel like it's a failure of you, because a friendship is both, it goes both ways, and you don't have to fight for something that, I saw this TikTok the other day, it's like this girl saying that like once she stopped reaching out first to this friend of hers, like she lost that friend. She's like, what if you told me like if you stopped reaching out to this friend, like you'd lose them? She would have stopped reaching out a long time prior, if that makes sense. And like no bad blood with any of my ex-friends, except for the one that has me blocked. I didn't do anything wrong. Is that tea? I guess maybe it is tea. One of my friends in college has me blocked on Instagram, but I did nothing wrong. If you knew the full story, you'd be like, what the heck? I'm not gonna put her on blast. Okay.
How do I tell a boy I like him when he's very intimidating? Okay, so I've been in a situation before where I really just have this mad, big, fat crush on a guy, and I don't know how to tell him. And it's very hard and intimidating, especially when the guy's like very attractive or very like a man of few words sort of deal. So I will tell you, it is not as easy as it sounds to just go up and say, hey, I like you. And I don't even recommend doing that. I recommend kind of just playing along and being a little flirty before you completely spew your guts and tell him everything about the fact that you like him. There's definitely a time and place for just laying all your cards on the table and saying, hey, I like you. But I personally have been finding it a lot more fun to just kind of play with the guy a little bit before you completely just, you know, put yourself out there. Just, you know, flirt, kind of make fun of him. Just do you, girl. And honestly, if the guy shuts you down, then it's his loss. Like, screw him. Honestly, if he doesn't see your worth and appreciate the fact that you give him the time of the day, then it's his loss. So don't even sweat it.
Do you ever feel like Benjamin Button, like you've aged backwards? Because I feel like 2014 Katie was so much wiser, or like more level-headed and so much less bitter than I am now. Okay, I'm not bitter, but I just have seen some shit, you know? I've seen some things, I've been through some things, so now I'm not cynical, but maybe a little bit. Guys, I keep almost saying she instead of me. Like, I genuinely forget that this was me. Like, this was me, guys. We have the same little mole here. We're the same person. Anyway, but when I said just play with them a little bit, like if you want to get a guy's attention and you want to tell a guy you like him, just play with him a bit. Like, don't lay your cards on the table. I kind of still agree with, I would never use the words play with him, play with his feelings, no way, I would never do that now. I'm smarter than that, I don't like leading people on. I do think it's good to, like, you know, dip your toe in, dip your little pinky toe in the water and start like doing little tiny teeny baby little flirty things. Like suggest you guys have one-on-one time together, go on a one-on-one date or something, or not like call it a date, but do something of that nature. And if he acts all weird about it and like doesn't want to do it and like, you know, something sketchy happens, like I feel you kind of have your answer and you don't even need to delve into that. But also it's just so tough because there's all these different situations. Someone will say, well, I met my husband that way. I met my husband by just laying my cards on the table. So it really just depends on what feels right for you, because at the end of the day, we are not all the same people. So what happens for one person and what works for one person might not work for you. And that is the genuine struggle of life. Because you see someone else succeed in one way and you think, oh, well, if I do that, I'll succeed in that way as well. And that is not always how it goes. You know, you can equate this to not just romantic stuff, which is, I don't know why, I feel like all these questions have had to do with like dating, but 18-year-old me, of course, I was horny. Sometimes you just gotta chalk it up to the luck of the draw. Anyway.
Sam Sheary asks, if you were given $1 million to shop one store, which store would it be and what would you buy?
Okay, before I hear myself say the answer, I want to guess. At this time, I was a hoe for Free People, still am, wearing all Free People right now, but something tells me I was actually in more of like my older chic phase at the time. Like I definitely went for like the business casual vibe in high school. It was like so weird, but I feel like a lot of us did that, where we were like, let's just grow up for no reason at all. So I think I said Anthropologie. To give you context, this was the phase where I begged my mom to paint my room bleaker beige, because I wanted a beige room. I'm like Natasha in Sex and the City. I loved beige. Funny, because I actually used to live on Bleecker Street here in New York. It kind of was like a prophecy. Bleecker beige, Bleecker Street. Funny. Anyway.
The first word that came to mind when I read this question was anthropology, definitely, hands down. What would you buy? Everything, duh. Anonymous asks, what is in your recently added playlist on iTunes? Okay, I have a very screwy, weird music taste. I've really been loving Jake Owen, which is a country singer, Eric Hutchinson, which is like a singer-songwriter. I've been liking Arctic Monkeys, which is just the bomb diggity. Vampire Weekend, as always. Frank Sinatra, Coldplay.
The bomb diggity. I'm just gonna leave that here. The bomb diggity. I'm honestly surprised I didn't say Taylor Swift, but obviously one of my most played artists now is Taylor Swift. I love Chelsea Cutler. I love Noah Kahan, of course. I love Camp, 1975. Lots of different vibes, but honestly Taylor Swift is still my number one, I have to say. Or wasn't then, I guess, for some reason. Like, what the heck? I definitely was listening to her, but...
What have you learned most from your senior year of high school? Okay, so I have a variety of things that I've learned, but I guess recently something that I've noticed is, I guess, the boy aspect of high school. As a freshman, I thought that definitely as a junior or senior, I would have a boyfriend lockdown or something like that, but alas, I'm a senior and I have never had a boyfriend.
Who's gonna tell her? Who's gonna tell her 8 years later? We're still single, honey. We're still single. It's okay.
Like, go on a variety of dates, meet a lot of different guys, but don't feel like you need to just, snag one and stay with them. It's not like musical chairs, I think it's important to experience, what the relationship, romantic life has to offer to you, but it's also important to realize your own self-worth and know that it's okay to be single. And that's something that's taken me 4 years to realize. So I hope you guys will keep that in mind when you're going into high school or while you're in high school.
I can imagine this feeling is like when you're a creator of a show. A lot of the times when shows are being made and actors are cast and are acting in said show, a lot of them don't know how it ends. And they do that on purpose. So, if their character dies or something, they're not going to be aware of that. It's just like they don't really know what's coming. Not in all shows, but I've read a lot of interviews where it's like that. And I feel like with this, with going down memory lane and watching these videos, it's like, okay, I know what's gonna happen to you, so I have a different view of this because I love how how I felt in this moment and how I had so much grace and so much trust in the timing of my life. And not that I don't anymore, but I didn't even know it was gonna come. All I knew was that I'd seen all these rom-coms and all these TV shows, and I saw people falling in love in college and meeting their college sweetheart on the first day. And then I saw, you get this new job and you fall in love with your coworker. And I saw all these storylines and I thought, one of those will apply to me. And I'm sitting here at 27 and it hasn't happened for me yet, and it still will. It still will, and I am so excited for that day, and I will never lose the excitement. I will never lose the thought that I will have a fairy tale. I will never lose that, and no matter how many people try to tell me, I need to be realistic or whatever the fuck you're gonna tell me, I will never lose the hope, and I will never lose that shiny feeling like something good is literally just around the bend. I'll never lose it. I will say back then when I made these videos, I feel like I got a lot more grace from people in the comments than I do now. I feel like people are so tired of me talking about things like this, or they just, I don't really know what people want from me, but this is how I feel, and I'm gonna tell you how I feel, and that's what I'm gonna do because this is my channel. If you don't like it, you can leave. It's okay.
Vegan Lily wants to know, do you have any weird fears? So my biggest weird fear, if you will, that I've had since I was 6 years old is escalators. And it sounds so stupid when I say it out loud, oh my god, I'm afraid of moving stairs. Moving stairs just freak me out, and when I'm about to step onto an escalator, I start nervous sweating because I'm just so I get so anxious about it. So I guess that's a weird fear of mine.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still a little bit afraid of escalators, a little bit hesitant when getting on. It does take me a little burst of courage to step on moving stairs. I don't know, they're not natural, okay? They're not natural. Humans back in the Stone Ages didn't have moving stairs. They probably would have, that trend where it's one thing I would show a caveman, or I would show someone in a time capsule. I would show them an escalator and see what they do. But I guess now, kind of going back to answering this nowadays, a weird fear that I have, it might not be a weird fear, but it's definitely a weird anxiety that I feel, is taking out the trash and walking down my hallway. I have a trash chute at the end of the hall, and that's where I put my trash and recycling and stuff. And for some reason, I don't know why this is and where this came from internally, but I have this weird fear of my neighbors seeing me throw away my trash, or like seeing me doing something in the hallway, like folding boxes. I don't know why I'm so like, it's almost that feeling like I'm gonna get in trouble. And I feel most of the things that cause me to feel anxiety, it's like I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble. And it doesn't stem from how I was raised, because my parents certainly, like, they disciplined me, but it was never something where I was like afraid, like deathly afraid of getting in trouble. I think I'm just like a rule follower by nature, and for some reason, I don't know what the trash chute has to do with this, but I feel this weird anxiety of like being caught in the hallway by my neighbors. I don't know why. I'm following the rules. Like, what does that mean? Someone with a psychology degree, please diagnose me. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I definitely have a fear of like getting in trouble, and I feel like this like feeling bubbling in my chest that I'm in trouble. I don't know where that comes from. Anyway.
So I guess that's a weird fear of mine. And you guys are probably gonna make fun of me now in the comment section. Go ahead, make fun of me. Katie's afraid of moving stairs, that's it. But yeah, I have a fear of escalators.
Side note, do you guys feel like my voice has changed? I mean, obviously it's been like 8 years, but I feel like I have like a little accent or something. I don't know why I feel like I sound different. All right, let's go a little further back in time. This is 10 years ago, so this is 2012. And I was 17? No, wait. 10 years ago, I was 17. Wow. The video I just watched previous to that was only 1 year later. I feel like I look I'm like so much more like reserved and shy. This video is actually called A Shy Girl's Guide to High School and More. Okay.
Hey Katie, I'm 16 years old and I've never had a boyfriend, and I feel like I'm worthless because of it, and I'm never going to fall in love. Do you think it'll ever happen? By the way, I love your videos and you're my role model. Love you. You guys might not really know this about me, but I've actually never had like a steady relationship with a guy.
Sitting here in 2022, I've learned so much, and I refuse to feel shame for what I have not yet experienced, and I refuse to identify as being someone who is less than because I have not experienced something that a lot of people have experienced, if that makes sense. So the fact that I've, my perpetual singleness, I just take it as my timeline hasn't gotten to that, like my story hasn't gotten to that chapter yet, and it is completely fine. There have been opportunities, there have been people that I was like, oh, maybe this is it, and it hasn't worked out, and that just means that it just wasn't my time yet. And so I wish that I could tell all these past versions of myself, just hang in there. Like, even in 10 years from now, you're still not gonna have it figured out, and that is okay, but think about all the other things you've done in those 10 years. Think about it. Number one, I figured out how to match my foundation to my neck. That's one thing. And I learned that I actually really like short hair. That's another thing. Honestly, this version of me would hate that I cut my hair. Like, she would hate it because I like thought long hair was currency. I actually got a Q&A question in my DMs. I was gonna answer like a few Q&A questions from Instagram, and someone said something so interesting. Talk about the fact that men claim they find long hair on women more attractive. Truth or lies? Is this what we're coming to? Is this like, oh, short-haired girls aren't attractive? Like, what? Do we care that much? Because I don't think we should. I don't think we should care that much, because personally, I think short hair flatters my face, and I have so much more fun with it than I had with long hair. And I had long hair. It was a chapter. I, might go back. Who the heck knows? Woo! Party! Party at Katie's. We're watching old videos and laughing and crying. That's what we're doing. I want to say before we watch this full video, I'm loving this glam that I did in this video so much so that I actually recreated it today in this video. I was like, wow, I really loved how I did that wing and the red lipstick. Do we look the same? I'm a little bit fairer because I definitely have a spray tan here. But I remember this was when I just gotten into my sorority. I was going over to this girl's apartment after this to pregame. And so I was like, wait, I have to film a quick little YouTube video. This is when people were starting to come around to the fact that I made YouTube videos, but I was like, very embarrassed about having to film a video before because I was very obsessed with my video upload schedule back then. I posted every Friday. I want to get back to that point where I upload frequently, like the same day every week. But I remember distinctly squeezing this in and then throwing on my party dress. I had it laid out in my bed like I was ready to go. So I filmed this video super quick, like I was already all ready for the party. It's funny because this version of me did not know about martinis yet. And she was probably about to go drink shitty vodka. like flavored, whipped cream flavored, that I no longer can drink because of bad experiences.
The next question says, I was just curious how you, a woman in college, managed your money, and give us some tips and stuff on how to save money in college. Smiley face. So me managing money. It is no secret that I make money off of my YouTube videos because of advertising and a combination of everything, which is such a blessing in life because I get to do what I love and get paid for it. So yes, I do make money on YouTube, so it's nice to make a little money here and there. So I also have other tips on how I make money and how I save my money. Basically, when managing my money, I just like to think about it as my future. So, you know, my savings account, like this is money that I can put towards my loft in New York City that I want someday, or, you know, like my first house and stuff like that. I just think about it, you know, when I'm buying stuff, I think like, will this really benefit me like 5 years from now?
I want to say a few things. Number one, hats off to this version of me for putting the money I was making into savings. My parents were luckily paying for my college, and I'm so grateful that they did that for me, because that made me able to tuck a lot of my money away into savings, to invest it, and now I'm eternally grateful that this Katy put in work. Like, I was filming videos in my dorm room where people were out, like I would skip parties to film videos, like I was very dedicated. At least my first couple of years I was very dedicated. Then I eventually let myself have a life and not care so much, which sometimes I look back and I'm mad at myself for taking breaks and for not uploading as frequently and for losing the momentum. But I have since abandoned that shame and that feeling of like, why the fuck did I do that? Because it resulted in me making my best friends. It resulted in me feeling like a part of something with my sorority, with the magazine that I was a part of. And I don't regret it. I don't regret living. I don't regret any of that. And if you are planning on making a YouTube channel or a TikTok or anything of that nature, like, don't become so obsessed with the content, with the virtual life that you have, that you don't remember to live in your physical, tangible life outside of the internet. And just to talk about the obvious, the fact that my prophecy, or what I wanted for myself, came true because of all this, because of the saving I was doing, because of the work that I put in. I now live in a loft in Manhattan. I live in New York, and I have a loft apartment. And this was 7 years ago that I made this video. I feel like the warmest, fuzziest feeling looking at this setup as well, because I remember how hard I worked on making sure that the lights were like just ever so twinkly and the backdrop was aesthetically pleasing. Like I still remember this clear as day. I wonder like if I could have seen what was to come. Like, I know that's not natural, that's not how it goes, but like I wonder what I would think. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of me. Okay, like I have to say it. Maybe it's the espresso martinis. And though I don't have it all figured out still, I don't know what's coming, but I didn't know then either. And I'd say through all the good, through all the bad, it really has been a beautiful journey. Sorry, I got cut off mid-thought because my camera decided it was done for a second, needed a cool down. It gets too hot sometimes when I film for over an hour, so. And truthfully, I had to pee, so it was actually good timing. Just at 27 sitting here, I'm gonna watch this video one day when I'm like 47, and I'm gonna see this and see where I was at 27 and probably make a very similar video being like, this is crazy, I didn't know it was to come, I didn't know. And I can't wait. You know what? I love that I don't know. I love that I don't know things. I'm getting much more comfortable with not knowing what is coming, and instead of being afraid of that, I'm excited because not only I know it's gonna be the good and the bad, not only will I eventually get where I'm meant to be through acting from the heart, through saying what I mean, and not caring if people think that I'm obsessive or like whatever, like I fixate on things. Like, I don't care anymore because I know it's all a part of my journey. And I also know that with the bad, I've learned so much. Like, I am such a different person than I was then because I've learned so much. And you learn through the hard stuff, the stuff that you feel like you can't get through, but you do. And each time you do that, you get stronger. Like, now I lift weights and I do weight training, and I have to say a lot of that, like when I'm doing that, and I get stronger every week. I can lift things over my head I couldn't even lift like to my waist before. I realized that, you know, we are comprised of muscles, not just in our arms and our legs, but in our minds as well, and in our hearts. Like, it's all kind of similar to like a muscle in that you get stronger. It's tough, it sucks, you feel like you can't do it, it hurts, but you get through it, and it's so darn beautiful to see how far you've come, to look down the hill and see what you've come up from. I think the best things I've ever done for myself in many different ways, in my career, in moving, in all these things, has been just letting go a little bit and letting myself just act naturally and react to things as I feel is right, and not becoming so obsessed with how other people have made it and how other people, like things that have worked for other people. I think comparison, it's the thief of joy. We know this, but it really is, because if you compare your journey to someone else's, you're going to end up, you know, if you really like spot on, like you try to connect the dots so perfectly, you're going to end up feeling less than. And I'm so sick of forcing myself, like torturing myself to fit into someone else's timeline. You can find similarities, and it might, you know, it is kind of comforting to see like someone else who's right there with you in things. I know that, and I've done that. I don't think that in itself is bad, but I think you just have to accept that everyone has a unique timeline of when things play out, or how things play out in their lives, and you just have to be willing to let in whatever comes, you know, and roll with the punches. I'm queen of rolling with the punches, honestly. So I'm really grateful. I did want to answer some questions, like a few just today questions, just me, not her, not who I was and who I still am deep down. Like, she still lives in me. She's still part of all my decisions. Are you planning on renewing your lease in New York? So you guys know I've lived in this apartment, my dream loft apartment, for 2 years now. I've loved this space. It's been so great for my creativity in here. I really loved it. It's such a great like floor plan to really spread out and do what I do for a living and create content. I don't mean to complain by saying this, because I'm so grateful to live here, but it's just so darn loud. I live on a main street, so not only do I have the trucks, like it's one of those huge streets with like 4 lanes going both ways, so I have trucks, I have a ton of ambulances, sirens all the time. I've had to brake like 6 times in this video to let sirens go by, and that, but also at night there's bars on my street. So like last night it was so hard to sleep because of the bars. Like I didn't go out last night, so it was just very noisy and people are screaming outside your door, and it's just, you know, there's some things that I would like to change in terms of just like being in a quieter area. That would be great. So I'm hoping for that. I'm gonna try to find a quieter street for my next apartment, or maybe a larger building so I'm up higher off the ground, because it really does like mess with my creative process. I need a quiet space to work. And so that is what I'm looking for in my next apartment. But I've loved this space. I'm gonna be very sad to leave. And I just hope that I find a place that's quieter and perhaps has a door on the bedroom. That'd be nice. I love a studio. I've had 2 studios now, but I think I'm ready to graduate into having a door on my bedroom. I don't know. Maybe it's in the cards, maybe it's not. We'll see, because obviously New York prices are so expensive, especially right now for some reason, and it's just very hard to find something that isn't like astronomical in price. But it is what it is. That's what we do to live in this city that I love so much. I just love New York City. I won't be leaving here anytime soon. I see so much more for myself here. Like I do see more days here, if that makes sense. But I do want to live in a different space. But if I had to stay here, it wouldn't be the worst thing. I'm very attuned to the audio, and it just like messes with my train of thought. Emily asks, thoughts on becoming a creator in 2023. So I think she means a content creator. And honestly, creating content has been the most special thing that I've ever done. But also it does open this new door to a bunch of things that, like, if you aren't creating content publicly, you might not experience in this exact way. You open the door to criticism from people you don't know, which I guess granted you could get criticized on the street or at a restaurant or in the office, and that is certainly the same sort of feeling, but there's nothing quite like just opening your phone at 8 a.m. and getting this like mean message from someone who doesn't even know you in real life. And you're like, come on, like, can I at least have my coffee first? Like, I haven't even had my coffee yet and you're already coming at me at 8 a.m. Like, that is something you need to be prepared for, and you can't take it too personally. You really can't, because people, yes, people have their own stories, they're going through stuff, like it doesn't make it okay, but there is, I just like to remind myself, it makes it sit better with me, that people are dealing with emotions that you know nothing about, the same way that I deal with emotions that no one knows about. And you know, people are hurting, and hurt people hurt people. So I think if you are okay with that, or you can get past it, you can still carry on, then by all means. But I think it's something that people should be aware of, because I think a lot of people see the positives of being a creator and making money on the internet, and there's certainly so many positives, but I think you just need to be aware of that. I don't want to scare anyone either, because like I said, this has been the best decision that I've made. It's gotten me here. It's gotten me to meet so many people that I would never have met before. Like Brooke and Danielle are two of my closest friends. I met them on YouTube. I would not have met them if I wasn't also creating content. So it's opened the door to so many amazing things, but it is tough to be criticized, and I still struggle with it, but I'm moving past it. In this same grain, this girl from college actually reached out to me recently. She's starting her YouTube channel. She's starting to create content online, and she was like, I don't know how to break into it. I feel like everything's already been done, and you know, it's hard to find a niche, and like hard to be noticed, and there's so much going on. It's so much congestion on the internet. Like, how do I stand out? And the answer is, a lot of things have already been done, but you know, every human being is a unique snowflake. You are different from other people, even if sometimes, or the internet, you know, makes you believe that you're the same as everyone else and you don't add value. You do add value, and your unique life experiences, I would say, just lean into what makes you you, what makes you that unique snowflake. Not to go back to my door analogy that I've used way too many times in this video, but the door is not closed on internet creators. You guys know people shoot up to success, or whatever you consider to be success. Honestly, the way that I see it, if you've touched one person's life, that is a success, and you shouldn't stop just because you're seeing the numbers. The numbers, if you feed too much into that, if you worry about the numbers too much, people always say, like, what would you do if you were guaranteed success? I feel like a lot of people would say, oh, you know, I would be a TikToker, I'd be an Instagrammer. And, you know, people have a lot of things to say about that, how that's like not a real aspiration. I slip down that slippery, icy slope all the time where I'm comparing myself to people and views, and I let it get to me. But I promise you, like, if you treat it as an outlet, something that you do that really does, it's like a deep breath sometimes, where I film something, I record something, I post something that I've been like working on, or I'm really excited about, or is something that is really from the heart. It feels like this deep exhale that honestly, it's like, it's orgasmic. It's such a good feeling to make something and post something that you're proud of. So I would encourage anyone to do it, and just don't pay attention to the numbers. Just be consistent. Be consistent with it. Work at it the same as you would a career, but I suggest having something else, like your, you know, a full-time job or school or something, to also fill your time. Because if you just fixate and obsess on this and expect something, like the expectations of it all, just try to like quiet those voices in your head that's saying things, and don't worry about what people think. I know you're gonna think about and care about that. Oh, what will these people from my life think about me trying to be an influencer? Screw them. Screw them, okay? They're just jealous. They're just jealous. Anyway, that's my video, guys. I think it was probably pretty long, so thank you for sticking around this long, and thank you to everyone who's been along for this journey. No matter how new or old you are to my channel, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate you guys, and I wouldn't be where I am without you. Truly, I mean it. I mean that to my core. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you all in my next vlog, actually, which is coming out very soon. I just made it last night, so it's coming soon, and happy holidays. Bye.